So the big picture, what is this? In a nutshell, the FBI had a closed investigation. It received new information. Now it will review that information. Sounds simple, but 11 days before the election, could it actually change the course of human events? Ed Henry's live in Washington. Anthony Weiner's investigation, that was the origin of this?
Yes, it just confirmed this. Fox News has now confirmed from an FBI source that these new emails that may, and I underscored may, have classified information were obtained by the FBI through the investigation of Anthony Weiner, and that specifically it could be either from some of his electronic devices or, remember, his wife, Huma Abedin. They might have checked some of those devices, according to this source, since it is his wife, clearly, and she is a top aide to Hillary Clinton, who is in the middle of WikiLeaks and all of these other document dumps we've seen. And so, forgive me while I continue to check my email from this source, but this source telling me that, in fact, and it squares with what I had heard earlier from a former FBI official who had separately told me what happens with FBI investigations is that everyone assumed when James Comey back in July said, I'm not moving forward with charges, I'm not going to recommend criminal charges against Hillary Clinton. You know, all of us may have assumed wrongly that the investigation was closed. They'd never officially closed it. It was still technically open as they wind it down. Meanwhile, a former FBI official tells me there are dozens and dozens of other FBI investigations and investigations by local law enforcement that might touch the FBI that are ongoing all the time, Shep. In this case, obviously extremely bad luck for Hillary Clinton that Anthony Weiner got into more trouble, and that investigation led the FBI to get in their possession emails that may have classified information, either from Anthony Weiner's device or Huma Abedin's device, or both. And so this could not happen at a worse time for Hillary Clinton. You think about the unprecedented moments we've had in this campaign, and now we've had a moment that's even more unprecedented than the other, Shep.
More details are coming out, as you might imagine, like every minute, Ed. And the New York Times has just added to its reporting to say that these new emails were found after FBI seized documents belonging to Huma Abedin and her husband, Anthony Weiner. You were explaining who they are and giving context to this. It sounds like, from the reporting of the Times, that the author may have been Huma Abedin, her longtime aide.
Right. And I don't have that part confirmed by the FBI. I want to be transparent with our viewers. But I do have, from an FBI source, that as part of an investigation of Anthony Weiner, you see him there, the law enforcement officials were collecting some of his electronic devices, information that he'd been sending, whether it be text, emails, and whatnot. And I'm still checking my email to get more information. But bottom line is, as part of that investigation of Anthony Weiner, they came across some information from Huma Abedin. I don't have that it's specific documents, but the important part is that while they are separated right now, they are still married, obviously, and Huma Abedin, you can't find a more senior aide to Hillary Clinton than Huma Abedin, by her side at all times. And specifically, let's not forget and underscore that Huma Abedin was interviewed by the FBI in the original investigation. And separate but related to all this, before I got into the studio, I spoke to another law enforcement source who told me that while Democrats are now saying, look, go through these emails, the new ones, do this today, do this tomorrow, get this done before the election, this law enforcement source said, hang on a second, even before we knew about Huma Abedin. He said, they may have to go back to Cheryl Mills with these new emails. Did you see this? Did you see that? They may have to interview Hillary Clinton again. And now, clearly, based on the new information we've gotten in the last 90 seconds or so, they're going to have to bring Huma Abedin back in, clearly. And so the idea that this is going to be resolved in the next 24 to 48 hours, good luck with that, Chef.
Yeah, I'll say. Hang with us for just a moment. Let's bring in our senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. In a nutshell, Judge, as I mentioned, what we have is there was a closed investigation, whether technically closed or not. The FBI director had come to the decision to file no charges. Then they got some new information. Now it's sort of reopened. Beyond that, what do we have here?
Well, it's unlikely, just to underscore what Ed Henry just told us all, it's extremely unlikely that this would be resolved to the satisfaction of law enforcement before Election Day. Remember, no grand jury was ever convened in the Clinton investigation. It would be nearly impossible to convene one now and present sufficient evidence to it to get it to do something, either to indict somebody or to agree that there's insufficient evidence to indict anyone. So what I see in all this from the people with whom I've spoken, and all this is buttressed by the great and last minute and up to the minute information that Ed just shared with all of us, is that the FBI does not know the classified status of this just from looking at it, and it needs to share it with members of the intelligence community who will say this is either confidential, the lowest level, secret, the mid-level, or top secret, the top level. And listen, it may be something that Mrs. Clinton sent to Huma Abedin, and then she shared it with her husband, which of course would not be anything that Mrs. Clinton could be blamed for. It could be something that contradicts what Huma Abedin or Cheryl Mills said to the FBI in their interviews with the FBI. And so the FBI could be looking for potential charges of lying to the FBI, not against Mrs. Clinton, but against her.
Now, Judge, what the FBI director said is he doesn't even know if these matters are significant yet, that they have to delve into them before they can even know whether they're significant.
Correct. That's why I suggest people should not jump to conclusions that Mrs. Clinton is being reinvestigated for the failure to keep state secrets secret, because it is apparent from those to whom I've spoken and from what our own colleagues have said on the air that the FBI does not know at first blush from its initial examination of these things what their security level is.
Well, if it turns out to be a big old thing and we don't learn about it till after the election, I suppose a future President Clinton could pardon herself.
Yes. Yes, the president has the power to pardon her or himself. As unusual as that sounds, yes.
And I'm not saying it's going to get to that. I can report to you with certainty that we don't know anything about this. All we know is that the FBI director sent a letter to congressional leaders and said, we've got some new emails. They appear to be pertinent to this investigation. We don't know whether they're significant. We need to look into it. We'll get back to you. FBI Director Comey's previous statements on this matter were seen widely, Judge, in a bipartisan matter as containing more information that would be normal in the course of events. And does this go even further in this disclosure of things that are murky and unknown?
Well, you know, this teases us because we're trying to figure out what the FBI is talking about. And the partisan people in here are saying, lay it out on the table and let the voters decide, simply don't understand that this is a criminal investigation of Anthony Weiner. It would be a federal crime for anyone, an FBI agent or anyone in whose hands this information happened to fall, to reveal exactly what this is until the FBI decides what to do with Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, because his case was about, if I'm not mistaken, the accusations are that he was sexting with a minor, and the charges against him could potentially be quite significant.
Well, yes, the charges against him could be very significant, but apparently, and you know, this stuff is done below the radar screen, the FBI must have executed a search warrant either on Anthony Weiner's home or on the premises of the computer server for the company that he used, and seized all of his computer records, and in an examination of those computer records came across something or things that appeared to have been classified and needed to be resolved and may have originated with Mrs. Clinton in a perfectly innocent or in a surreptitious way. We don't know what it is, and apparently the FBI doesn't know enough to tell us the significance of it at this point. The FBI is, of course, also governed by these statutes to which I just alluded that prevent the revelation, the exposure of criminal evidence before the government has decided whether to use that evidence in a prosecution.
Ed Henry, politically, I can just imagine that both campaigns, one with elation and the other with dread, are really kind of reeling now. Is that an overstatement?
Well, no, not an overstatement for the Clinton camp. I mean, the bottom line is they have been out there saying, let's not get complacent, you know, this election's not in the bag, but that's not really true. They thought it was in the bag because how I know that is we learned earlier today, before all of this, it's now been knocked out by this, but an extraordinary move. Hillary Clinton's campaign announced that the next couple of days she's going to campaign herself in Arizona, meaning they believed that for the first time in a couple of decades she had a chance to win Republican Arizona, if you will. Those hopes are probably out the window. She may still win this race, but the idea that this is going to be a landslide that they thought they had just 24, 48 hours ago seems far, far away. And you could look no further than Donald Trump earlier today in New Hampshire. I know we're waiting for another rally, but that rally earlier where he walked in and said, "I have some breaking news from the FBI," that crowd was electric. I mean, he talks all the time about huge crowds and whatnot. Sometimes they're exaggerated. They are large, but it was electric. I mean, our pictures and our sound showed that. And suddenly, Republican voters, perhaps, who have been pretty dispirited in recent days, watching some of these polls, yes, they have been closing in the last couple of days, but Hillary Clinton has still been in the lead. It narrowed in the Fox poll to what, about 3 points a couple of days ago. But Republicans have been very dispirited at the idea that maybe Hillary Clinton was marching to victory. All of a sudden, that has been turned on its head, Chef.
Well, it's certainly left in question, as it should have been from the very beginning. On the same day when the New York Times had in its main political story today that the large Republican donors had abandoned him, that he was abandoning himself with money, that all of the money from the Republican Party is now going to, excuse me, down ballot races. It appeared that many of the big East Coast states that he needed so badly were going to be lost. And I suppose all of that could still be the case, but Ed, there's question that did not exist prior to 2 hours ago.
Exactly. There's a new cloud over Hillary Clinton, and any momentum that she had has been stopped. We can guarantee that. Again, nobody knows whether she's going to win or lose this race, but any momentum she had coming out of the 3 debates has now been stopped, and all of a sudden there's this new cloud. And I keep thinking about Vince Scully when he retired recently, the baseball announcer. Think about that home run call he had with Kirk Gibson, where he said, in the year of the improbable, the impossible, when Kirk Gibson hit that home run on, what, one leg? This has been an improbable election. Now we see the impossible.
Well, we'll have to see what developments transpire. We'll watch it and report to you.